trample on it and your pearls are muddy, you can't get mad. Because pigs do what pigs do. Pigs do what pigs do, and it's your fault for putting your stuff that's of value in the presence of a pig. You can't. Hey friend, welcome to my channel, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, and if you're returning and you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now. I'm Toks, and on this channel I create content around entrepreneurship, relationships, and personal development. Today is part 4 of our 5-week Heartbreak Series. If you haven't caught up on the Heartbreak Series, there is a playlist for you. Make sure you click it and go see what we've been talking about here. I've been sharing my experience with heartbreak, what it's taught me, what I've learned, and just the journey to make it to the other end. Part 4 is all about confidence, building up your self-confidence, finding yourself after you go through a breakup or you experience heartbreak. If you haven't seen the rest of the series, go see it, go listen to it, and you'll understand why confidence is so important on the other end. When I got out of that relationship, and truly all of 2019 when it was falling apart to shambles, I did not know who I was. I had realized by that point that I wasn't in a partnership, but then when I stepped outside of that partnership, I didn't know who I was by myself. I didn't know who I was as a person. I didn't know who I was as a daughter. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with my life or the direction that my life would take, and it was absolutely terrifying. Yes, I had quit my job and decided to go off into entrepreneurship, so I knew to some extent that I wanted to write a book. I knew that I wanted to start a podcast and eventually even get into YouTube like we're doing right now, but I didn't know who I was. A major part of my identity was built around being ex's girlfriend. Since I was 19, that's a really young age, all the way till you're 26, 27. Like, I didn't even tell my friends everything that was happening until August of that year, when everything started falling apart in January, right? Because it was hard for me to come to terms with. And in everything falling apart, one of the best things, and this is something that I also talk about in a podcast video that I will link for you as well, is that when things hit rock bottom, you get to build the foundation on which you want to stand. You get to figure out what you want to do, what's important to you. And a part of that is really silencing all the voices. I didn't realize to the extent that external influences had directed my life until I was moving in secret, going through this extended traumatic breakup period by myself. That was when I realized that a lot of who I am, a lot of what I do, is because of the people around me. It's because of their suggestions. It's because I want them to be proud of me. It's because I'm a people pleaser. It's because if they're telling me and I know they love me, it must be good information. But in truth, that wasn't the case. It was good information, don't get me wrong, for the most part, like from everybody outside of him. His information, I find looking back now, a lot of it was very diminishing in the sense that there were certain things he wanted me to do that kept me in line with him and a lot of things that he wanted me to do that would match with him. I gave a little bit of a story in one of my other videos about how my ex had offered to pay for me to do a project management course when I had quit my job, but the moment I told him that I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, he didn't give me that money towards actually pursuing entrepreneurship, right? So clearly it wasn't about my growth in general, it was about my growth in comparison to him, to what he wanted, to his relative gap that he wanted to leave between us and all of that. Because during our relationship as well, I would tell him about my finances. Like, if I was getting a raise at work, I'd let him know. If I got a new job and I got paid, I'd let him know. And he literally would never, ever, ever, ever tell me his salary. The whole time we were together, the one time that I knew kind of how much he made was when it was ending and he wanted to buy a new car. When we went to the Mercedes-Benz dealership for him to get his car, I met him there. Things were already in shambles at this point, and we were selecting a car. Well, he was selecting a car, I was giving my input, however relevant. And when it came time for the financing part, because I know he doesn't talk to me about his money, I kindly respected myself and took a step back and said, oh, I'll just hang out here. And he was like, no, come in. And now looking back, the only reason why he wanted me to come in was probably in the event that if his credit score wasn't enough for him to finance it on his own, he knew that my credit score is cute over here, would have co-signed it for him. Because any other time when it came to discussing money, I was never privy, never invited into those conversations. And if I asked him, like, why don't you tell me how much you make? He'd be like, why are you asking me that? Da, 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 da. Making it seem like I'm trying to like steal his money or do all of that, when like that wasn't the case at all. So I remember going into there and like sitting down, and they're talking to him about the financing and adding all the like the little things they want you to add at the end to get more of your money. And then when they asked him like, oh, how much you make, he gave a number, and he initially hesitated, which leads me to believe, and also based on my knowledge of salaries for job positions, that he was lying. He undersold his salary because I was in the room. And I'm like, sir, with the way I've spent money on you that I didn't even have, like on things that I should have got for myself, that I got for you first, like the last thing we should be concerned about is me coming for your coin. Like, I'm about to have it myself, sir. Don't worry about all of that. But like sitting there and seeing the fact that like he would never tell me this stuff, and that I was okay with like not knowing while I divulged my whole life to him and he kept his really close to the chest, it just makes me realize that like I was living in his world thinking that it was our world and it really wasn't. So stepping out of his world into my world, stepping out of my parents' shadow or my parents' wants from me into my world, I realized that I really didn't have it all together. And like even till now, I'm still going through that journey of figuring out like what I love, what's important to me, what makes me feel special, and why I should bring myself to the table. It wasn't even until recently, if I'm being completely candid and honest with you guys, that I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you're pretty. Like I've never thought that, like, okay, do I think I'm cute? Yeah, like whatever. I think I'm cute sometimes. I know when I dress up, but like I've never looked at myself and like objectively been like, you're pretty, you're a pretty person, or even like thought of myself as being enough. And I think it's because of the fact that I have always had this thing where I've constantly felt the need to prove my value to people. Like if you ask me if these people love me, like especially my family and my friends, without a shadow of a doubt, I'll say yes. I know that they love and care for me. But at the same time that sits in my mind, like the knowledge that I'm loved and cared for, there's another part of my mind that says you have to keep producing, you have to keep doing, because the moment you stop, the love might diminish. Even though if somebody asked me, do you think your family would stop loving you if you just stopped performing or stopped doing? The answer would be no. So like there's this like crazy dissonance going on in my mind of like what I knew to be the truth, but yet what I was acting in, which was opposite of the truth, which caused me to constantly want to like push and push and push. And like coming out of that relationship really gave me the opportunity to sit in silence with myself. And that silence was extremely uncomfortable. Looking at myself in the mirror and not liking what I saw was extremely uncomfortable, but it was a very necessary part of moving on. Like I'm telling you all of this because there was a time where I wanted to hop back into dating where I felt like I was ready, but looking back, I really wasn't. And when you come out of a situation that takes something from you, like that takes your happiness, that takes your joy, that takes your security, that takes your mindset, that takes the future that you thought you had from you, you owe it to yourself to be still in that for a moment. Like you need to be still in that and truly absorb the emotions and get to the other side of it and truly try to understand what parts of you were lost in that place and what you need to bring back to get to where you want to be. You're worthy, you're valuable, you're great. And I can tell you this all day long. People who love you can tell you this all day long. But until you see it and know it and recognize it for yourself, chances are you're going to find yourself repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. And I don't want you to do that. And for me, like my confidence really started to come from my ability to perform the things that I wanted to perform. So when I was able to write a book, like I said, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna write a book. And then on the day of my book launch, I looked at that tangible book that I had and I was like, I did this. I literally did this. I was able to tell myself that I wanted something, I was able to have the drive to do it, figure out the resources to do it, study to be able to do it, and produce it. That made me feel confident in myself, in my ability to talk and do, like to talk about something and do what I talked about, to be able to see my vision from inception to the final product. And that's where I started to find my confidence. And like the same thing with starting my podcast. Like it was choppy. Like if you guys haven't listened, go listen to the Toks podcast. It's exactly the same type of conversations I'm having here, but there's over 150 episodes. So like the topics are vast. There's literally something there for everyone. And I truly appreciate your support on that. But when I started it, I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel confident, but I'm like, you know, I'm going to do this. And I did that for 150 weeks plus. And here we are now, right? So I had to start building on what I was good in. So I want you, if you're working on your confidence because of a breakup, because of life in general, I want you to write down, what am I good at? And then say, what do I want to do? Like, so what am I good at? On one side of the paper, what do I want to do with my life on the other side? And then for each thing that you want to do with your life, go back to the things you're good at and find the way that that could be applied. Like, let's stop looking at what we don't have. Let's start looking into what we do have. So look at everything that you already have in the roster, in the toolkit, and see how you can use that tool to do something else. Like sometimes I need a hammer and I don't have a hammer, but I know I could take the back of a wrench and like bang that thing in, or the back of a fork, right? So like if I were to say, oh my God, I could never hammer anything because I don't even have a hammer, when I fully have a fork that if I use enough force could like work as a hammer, I'd be doing myself a disservice. So I want you to do the same thing. And like for me, it was also a worthiness journey. Like losing that relationship and having people say stuff like, oh my gosh, like it's you type of girls who are always so ambitious, who scare men away. Like I literally had a woman who had no idea the suffering I had endured look at me in the face and tell me that it's because I'm too ambitious. It's because I want to make money. I want to go to school too much, get too much education, that I lost my boyfriend. And I'm like, no. He hated me. I lost him because he hated me. So, yeah, like getting to that place of realizing that there are going to be people who don't get it, but if you get it, you can stand on the solid foundation of who you are, who God says you are, and that is enough to keep you grounded when like people and their BS comments and their irrelevant theories and hypotheses try to come in your way and block you from what you're doing. I literally, because I know myself and I know that if there is anything that I can hold on to as maybe if I had done that, it would have changed things, because I know that's my tendency. I literally did every single thing that came to my mind so that when I was able to walk away, I wasn't holding on to some like random irrelevant hope based on like a delusion that maybe if I had given like 10% more of myself, it would have changed the outcome of how things went. So I had to get to a place where I felt worthy, and I had to get to a place where I looked and I'm like, I don't deserve to be with anyone who doesn't think it's a privilege to be with me, because every single person I'm with, I believe it's a privilege to be with them. And if I am dating somebody who feels like they're managing me, I need to get myself out of that place, because I am not to be managed. I am to be absorbed and added to your life so that you can get the greatness that comes from me, just as I absorb and add you to my life and get privy and access to the greatness that is attached to you. So work on the confidence, ladies. Confidence. Don't step into anything before you're confident, because people will play with you and you do not deserve to be toyed with at all. You're way too good. You bring way too much to the table. You're way too valuable to be with somebody who doesn't know your value. Like in the Bible, it says like, you do not cast your pearls before swine. Like you do not give your pearls to pigs. You do not give your greatness, your light, your love and care to somebody who doesn't have morals, who doesn't have ethics, who doesn't have kindness, who doesn't have compassion, who's not a respectful person. Because when you give it to them, just like when you cast your pearls before swine and they trample on it and your pearls are muddy, you can't get mad. Because pigs do what pigs do. Pigs do what pigs do, and it's your fault for putting your stuff that's of value in the presence of a pig. You can't get mad at a pig for being in the mud and taking your pearls and dragging it into the mud with them. And that's why you need to make sure that you know your value and you're able to sit in it. Like, I love being by myself these days because it's not loneliness, it's solitude. I'm okay being by myself because I know that I enjoy my company. I love myself, I'm great. In those times where I'm by myself, I do things that I enjoy. I read books, I watch movies, I go on TikTok and I laugh. So when somebody is going to come and fill my space, they are bringing and maintaining the level of peace that I already sustain by myself. I'm not coming from a place of loneliness and desperation where I just want somebody to fill the space. And if you're in that season where you are feeling lonely, I want you to learn to love yourself, date yourself, do some things for yourself that make you feel good. Don't wait for that person. Like, I've spoken about this when I talked about my jewelry that I got myself for Valentine's Day, but you need to be the person who sets the standard for your life. If you're saying, oh my God, I wish I could go to dinner like at this fancy restaurant, dress up, go with your girls, go by yourself. Go by yourself and take a book with you. Go by yourself and take headphones and listen to a podcast while you eat that delicious meal all dolled up in your great dress. Like, you don't need to wait for somebody to justify you into the places that you want to be in, because if you do, they're going to become your world the moment they enter. You want them to enter into your world and you're like, welcome, we've been here all along, right? So that is the end of this confidence part. Our last and final part of this heartbreak series is going to be all about forgiveness and compassion, because that is another very, very important dynamic to this work of getting over the heartbreak and dealing with it, right? So sound off in the comments. Let me know what you do or what you've already done to build your confidence, and ask me any questions that you have. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also share this series with a friend, and we will speak soon.